Okay, so there are a number of things I want to cover today. First of all, I intend to finish the topic on sensor. We have three subtopics today, all regarding temperature transducer or temperature sensors. And then, depending on the time, we may go into some of the tutorial questions. And I will continue tomorrow as well. And of course, I need to share with you some information regarding the final exam. So whether it's suitable to share today or not will depend. For the final exam, I will not write anything. The information will only be communicated via verbally, through verbal communication. But let's save that for later part. If it's not suitable for today, maybe I'll cover tomorrow or maybe I'll cover next week. As usual, please record your attendance. So I've already opened the attendance in ULearn. So if you go for week 13, the attendance is already available. And there are also some materials that you can look into with respect to this topic. For the final exam, there will be one whole question dedicated on sensor. Not only temperature sensor, but sensors and transducers in general. So it's a compulsory question, this topic, sensor. What I will cover today and what I have covered last week. So you make sure go into the materials carefully and ask any questions or any part that you are confused with. One student communicated with me regarding the question on capacitive sensor, which is the practice problem given here. So he stated that he's confused on how to solve. So I'm also going to discuss this today, later part in my lecture. So let's finish our lecture content first. Okay. So as usual, any questions, any problems, you can highlight in our meeting chat and I will respond to them accordingly. Okay, sebelum kita mula, before we start, I also need to inform you a few things. Number one is regarding the COVID-19 situation in particular in UTM. So if any of you are planning to come back to UTM, or I don't know, maybe you are already in Melaka and you want to go to UTM for some reason. So at the moment, the situation is okay, but there are already one faculty which is FTKEE, Fakulti Teknologi Kejuruteraan. The staffs have already been ordered to work from home because one of the staff has been positive for COVID. Okay, and there are also a few we call it level 2B, category B. That means exposed to someone who has been positive, involving a few locations in the university. Okay, so we cannot avoid it now. It's already in the community. Just as a reminder for you to be careful. If there is no need, don't come to UTM. Okay, if there is a need for you to come to UTM, then make sure you follow the SOP and follow the protocol accordingly. For me, I still need to go to UTM. We are still required to work, not from home. We must work from the office. So now usually I eat with my friends. Now I eat alone for a few months already. I don't go eating with my friends. Yeah, same goes to you guys. You guys also need to stay safe and be careful. That is point number one. Okay. Point number two. Oh yeah, by the way, Melaka, kalau you baca, if you read the news, now Hospital Melaka is already full capacity. they cannot absorb any COVID patients anymore in Melaka. So kalau ada, okay, Johari, hold on I'll answer that. Sekarang ni kalau you ada baca berita lah, kalau Melaka punya kes sekarang siapa yang positif, dia dah hantar terus ke MAIPS Serdang. No longer here in Melaka. So as of yesterday, there are six patients in ICU and 3 is on ventilator. Okay, in Selangor much worse. So you guys should already know that we are expecting the Prime Minister to announce the important information regarding PKP. Talking for both sides lah. I know some of us, like me, I'm from government. So government, they say in general quite secure, but not necessarily. I've heard about they are planning to cut some of our salary. But I don't know how far they are going to do so. Tapi much concern goes to our friends, your parents maybe, who are working in the private sector or working on your own. So kita tak nak PKP ni because it affects your economy, affects your livelihood. So let us work together lah and remind ourselves and our friends. Okay, point number 1. And then point number 2, I wonder if any of my students are affected with the current flood situation, especially in the Pantai Timur area, that may affect your studying process. Kan? Sebab kampung saya daripada Pahang kawasan Raub, so pun banjir teruk juga. My cousins pun complain juga. So I was wondering, kalau ada student saya yang bermasalah, if you have any problems for your study with regards to the current flood situation, please let me know, or at least let the administration know, so that we can do our part to help you. We don't know what kind of help is possible yet, but we don't want you to be some sort of like left behind or neglected. Okay, so memang bahagian HCP dia sentiasa try to follow up on the current level, current situation of our students. Tapi just in case, kalau ada, misalnya you ada masalah, rumah you kena banjir, you tak boleh nak study or ataupun kawan you yang you tahu, so please let us know so I can escalate the information to the admin. So that's the second point. Okay, so Johari tanya, what about next semester? Jangan kata next semester, next week pun kita tak tahu. 2 minggu lepas, Kementerian Pengajian Tinggi dah keluar statement yang mengatakan pelajar dah boleh balik 1 bulan Mac ke IPT masing-masing. Tapi dalam keadaan sekarang, saya rasa dia akan tarik balik statement tu. Tapi we'll see how things go lah. Kita jangan over jump to conclusion. Kita jangan jump the gun. Kalau we can predict, but we shouldn't overreact and you see disseminate unconfirmed news. Kita jangan sebarkan maklumat yang kita tak pasti kesahihan dia. Okay, so let's wait for today. Everybody is waiting for PM today. Alright. So the current situation sekarang ni, kalau saya assume most probably unless vaksin akan sampai, vaksin dijangka the first batch next month. So after our community dah dapat vaksin yang mencukupi for herd immunity, then we can probably live our life somewhat back to normal. Tapi kalau sekarang pun, I think it's going to take at least 6 months for majority of our population, especially those with high risk, to be vaccinated. So, a lot of uncertainties. Alright, so we'll see how things go. Ada kawan saya, student dia mengadu menghadapi tekanan perasaan, depression, tak boleh study dekat rumah sebab rumah sempit, internet tak berapa bagus. Itu memang masalah daripada semester lepas lah. So saya pun tak ada penyelesaian lah untuk kes-kes macam tu. Tapi kalau ada daripada kalangan student saya, kalau rasa ada part yang kita boleh bantu, please let me know lah. Alright. Okay, that's it for intro. Lama pula intro dia. Okay, let's look at our topic for today, temperature transducer. So we are going to look into 3 types of temperature transducer today, which are the RTD, the thermistors, and the thermocouples. And temperature is one of the most common parameter that we want to measure, especially in the industry. Kalau kita pergi misalnya bidang yang melibatkan elemen chemical, so kita nak pastikan chemical reaction tu berlaku dalam julat suhu yang dikehendaki. There must be a certain range of temperature for any type of liquid or chemical solution to optimally operate. So we need to find or make sure that the temperature is always within the range. That is one of the application. Kalau kita terlibat macam saya electrical kan, we are always concerned about overheating. Kalau you guys mechanical manufacturing pun benda yang sama. We do not want overheating in our generators or in our machine. So we also need to monitor the temperature and trigger any alarms kalau our machines are operating outside their normal operating temperature. So needless to say, temperature is important lah for us to measure and for us to monitor. So in the industry, there are 3 common types, and we will see today what are the advantages, disadvantages, and applications where we use all 3. Okay, kita nak kena imbangkan bila kita nak pakai RTD, bila kita nak pakai thermistor, thermocouples, and so on. Alright, so you need to be well versed in all 3. Okay, saya boleh bagi hint sedikit. Soalan final memang akan ada satu portion on this temperature transducer. Right? Okay, ada soalan ke? Kalau ada boleh tanya. Kalau tak, saya proceed je. Okay, RTD and thermistor are passive devices. Okay, passive means it needs external supply for it to operate. Okay, like a voltage source, probably like a battery or power supply for it to operate. And then for thermocouple, it is an active transducer. That means it does not need any external power supply. It basically measures the temperature independently. I mean, it can generate the temperature difference by itself, on its own. We'll see what I mean when we go to the thermocouples topic afterwards. Okay, so let's first go into temperature sensor number 1 or transducer number 1, which is RTD. So RTD is an abbreviation for resistance temperature detector. Okay, also known as a resistance thermometer. Usually the material can be either platinum. Platinum is the most common, but we also have nickel or copper. These 3 types of materials or metals has a good criteria in the sense that the resistance varies linearly with temperature. Not exactly linear, but close to linear. So we already mentioned previously, when we want to select a sensor or a transducer, one of the main criteria is linearity. Okay, linear maknanya kalau dia naik, parameter yang kita nak ukur tu naik, nilai transducer pun naik pada kadar yang sama. Maknanya kalau katakan kita nak ukur suhu, suhu tu naik 2 kali ganda, jadi nilai sensor tu mesti naik 2 kali ganda juga. Itu kita panggil dia sebagai linear. Kalau dia naik 4 kali ganda, dan sensor tu naik 4 kali ganda. So that is what we call as linear. So linear is important because it allows us to easily translate what the value that we are measuring means. Okay. And then daripada jenis-jenis tu, from the criteria or from the types of resistance temperature detector, there are number of possible elements that we have, like thin film element. Okay, thin film ni maknanya satu filem nipis saja. Wire wound element, wire wound ni maksudnya kita buat satu gelung macam inductive transducer tu. Kita juga boleh buat benda yang sama untuk RTD ni. Coil element, okay, wire wound dengan coil element ni lebih kurang sama. Cuma coil ni biasanya dia memang bentuk fix. Wire wound ni biasanya kita lilitkan dia kepada sesuatu. Okay, and many others. Okay, so this is the basic construction of an RTD. So you have a housing that is intended to protect the sensor inside. Okay, and then you have the sensing element inside the blue square, blue rectangle there. And then you have the connection wire. So you have the lead wires that measures the temperature with respect to the element that we want to measure. Right? Okay, these are some industrial applications. Let's not go into detail because to be honest with you, not many of these that I am familiar with, since this is not my field. When we talk about oil and gas, maybe those engineers in oil and gas know better. Okay, for cement example, okay, maybe engineers in the cement factory knows better, but basically the principle is the same. Okay. Although here mention RTD, but as you can see here, a lot of the application uses thermocouple. So thermocouple is beneficial because of some of the advantages we'll see when we go into the slides on thermocouple. Okay. So this is the working principle for RTDs. It relies on the concept that as temperature increase, electrical resistance also increase. Okay. Bila suhu meningkat, rintangan juga meningkat. So you can see the curve here. This is an example of a platinum RTD curve. Alright. So if I zoom in a bit, see whether I can. So you see the horizontal axis is the temperature, and the vertical axis is the resistance. So we can measure from around negative 200 plus, okay, close to negative 300 degrees C, that means very cold, up to almost 900 degrees Celsius, very high. So this is another attractive feature of a resistance temperature detector. It can measure a wide range of temperature from negative 200 plus until about close to 900, 800 plus. Okay, so because we have a wide range and you can see the curve is fairly linear. It's not exactly linear, but its approximation is quite good. Right, so we can use this curve as a basis to determine what will be the resistance value at any temperature that we want to measure. Okay, we can also calculate using the equation that we are going to discuss after this. So for example, let's say we want to know what will be the resistance value at 300 degrees Celsius. So we simply go to the graph and we follow at 300 degrees Celsius, we find what is the corresponding resistance value. We don't know exactly what is the value, but we can estimate maybe around 210 ohms, the resistance. So to be more accurate, we need to have a more refined graph, but it's okay. We can also calculate using the equation and find the value. Okay. Now, the equation you need to know to solve questions with regards to RTD is this equation. This is the main equation. You don't need to memorize, you just need to know how to apply the values. And the equation is straightforward. There's no integration or differentiation required. So, the equation here, we have R equals to R naught, and then we have a bracket 1 plus alpha delta T. So the definition is R is the resistance of wire at temperature T. So we want to find what is the actual value. R naught is the resistance at the reference temperature. So usually at 20 degrees C. Okay, depends. Usually at 20 degrees C, not necessarily at 20. And then alpha is the temperature coefficient of resistance. So the temperature coefficient will depend on the material. For example, in this figure, it uses a platinum RTD. And the alpha value, here is not A, alpha value is 0.00385. So this is the value of alpha. So alpha you always need to find based on the metal or the material that is used. Alright? And then delta T is the difference between the operating and reference temperature. Okay, R naught is the resistance at the reference temperature, and delta T is the difference between the operating and the reference temperature. Okay, so let's look. Like I mentioned just now, for platinum RTD, one of the main advantage is that it has a wide operating range. So you can measure from -200 up to 850 degrees C. So it's quite good for a number of applications. And then we have good linearity, okay, as we can see from the previous figure. And then higher temperature operation. So that means we can measure at during high temperature, 850 up to 850. And then better stability at high temperature. That means if we are measuring at high temperature, then the value, the sensor is relatively more robust. Dia lebih tahan, dia lebih kuat dan bacaan dia lebih tepat. So that's we call as better stability. So the table you can see here is a comparison on the temperature range and the resistance coefficient alpha. So as you can see, kalau kita gunakan material lain macam copper, nickel ataupun tungsten, dia punya range dia quite limited. Okay, only up to 100 plus or 200 plus. Okay, but platinum is good. You can measure a wide range. So you can see that if the RTD is used in the industry, most of the time you're going to see platinum being used, especially for high temperature application. All right. But the disadvantage, there are two main disadvantages. Number one, it has a time delay. Bila dia sense tu, you tak dapat result dia instantly. Dia ada macam sedikit time delay. This is what is meant by fast response of sensing. Okay, kalau macam kita nak dia detect perubahan suhu yang cepat, macam every second or every few second, then RTD ni tak sesuai. Sebab RTD ni dia ada time delay. Bila dia measure, dia ambil sedikit masa untuk dia display the correct temperature. Okay, that is point number one. And then point number two, to measure temperature for a small area. RTD ni tak sesuai. Sebab katakan you nak measure suhu pada you punya motherboard. Ataupun pada, okay lah, motherboard dalam you punya PC atau motherboard dalam you punya handphone. So dia punya area dia quite compact. So RTD ni dia tak boleh beroperasi dalam keadaan yang sempit ataupun kecil macam tu. So we need to use other types, which we'll see afterwards. Good. So these are the two main disadvantage for RTDs. Okay, so most RTD instrument use a Wheatstone bridge or its modified version. Kita jumpa lagi sekali modified bridge ni. Hari tu kita tengok untuk strain gauge. Kita pakai Wheatstone bridge. Hari ni lagi sekali kita jumpa Wheatstone Bridge ni sebab Wheatstone Bridge ni is a very useful configuration for us to measure a small change in terms of resistance. Okay. So let's look at the simple example. Macam mana you nak apply persamaan yang telah diberi tadi. So saya tak expect you ada masalah lah kalau you nak solve soalan macam ni. Okay, a platinum resistance thermometer has a resistance of 150 ohms at 20 degrees C. So calculate its resistance at 50 degrees C. So alpha at 20 is given as this value here. So it's a matter of just replacing the values in the equation. So R0 is 150. Okay, so this is the reference temperature at 20. And then alpha given 0.0392. If not given directly from the question, you should be given a table that you can refer to. And then you have the temperature difference, which is 50 and the base temperature 20. So you just plug in the values to get 167.64 ohms. Okay. So that's it for resistance temperature detector, RTD. Okay, kalau ada soalan boleh tanya. I'm not anticipating any questions. I think this one is quite straightforward. Now let's move on to the second type of temperature transducer, which is the thermistor. Okay. So thermistor is a short form for thermally sensitive resistor. So thermistor ni thermally sensitive resistor. So we call it thermistor. So it is composed of materials with known resistance, metallic oxides, pressed into a bead, a disc or a cylindrical shape, and then encapsulated with waterproof material like epoxy or glass. So kita ada metallic oxide yang sensitif kepada perubahan suhu. Kita buatlah dalam bentuk sama ada bentuk biji, macam biji I don't know, bead biji, what we call in Malay, either in bead form or disc. Disc ni maknanya bentuk disc lah, bentuk bulat atau silinder. And then kita encapsulate with waterproof material. So kita nak halang daripada air memberi kesan kepada dia lah, ataupun sebarang bentuk cecair. So kita salutkan dia dengan bahan yang kalis air. As you can see from the slide, there are two types of thermistor. Okay, the most common one is called negative temperature coefficient. So negative temperature coefficient, that means as temperature increases, resistance decrease. Dan selain daripada itu, kita ada juga positive temperature coefficient. As temperature increase, resistance increase. Tapi salah satu ciri thermistor ni adalah dia bukan linear. Sebaliknya dia bersifat macam exponential. So you can see the curve here for negative temperature coefficient or NTC. You can see that as the temperature increases, the resistance drops significantly until it reaches a level where it becomes saturated. That means after the point, let me enlarge this part. So after a certain point, so let's say at this point here, now any increase in temperature will have no effect on the resistance. So possibly the most critical part or the most beneficial part of a thermistor is probably from here to here. Okay, this range here. Okay, above that or below that, it's not that good. Even for this portion of area, there will also be some confusion because it's not linear. So you may ask, kalau tak linear, kenapa kita nak pakai? So nak jawab soalan tu kita kena we have to go deeper into the material. Okay, yang degree tu kena tukar jadi Kelvin. Kita kena tengok konteks dan kita kena tengok graf. Ada graf yang kita boleh pakai degree C saja, straight. Ada graf yang kita kena convert kepada Kelvin. So convert kepada Kelvin simple saja, whatever value in degree C you add 273, then it becomes Kelvin. Okay, so nanti kita maybe we do some short exercises afterwards. Tapi yang tu simple. Yang susah kalau kita nak convert daripada Fahrenheit kepada degree C or degree C kepada Fahrenheit. Alright, now if I go for for the positive or for the PTC, it's just the opposite. As temperature increase, the resistance increase as well. So it's less common, but it's sometimes used also in the industry. So it's exactly the same except that the value is opposite compared to NTC. All right. So thermistors rated resistance are normally specified at 25 degree C. Tadi kalau RTD normally 20 degree C. Here normally is 25 degree C. Okay, so we have, for example, 1 kilo ohm at 25 degree C, 10 kilo ohms at 25 degree C, and so on. So it depends on the material and depends on the specification from the manufacturer. So for example, let's look at this data sheet and see what it is trying, what information that it has for the thermistor. So this one is actually an enlarged version of the one on top here. Hold on, my mouse is not following. Okay, let's see. Okay, so the table on the left hand side and the table on the right hand side is actually from the same table. So you can see that the value is given here. Okay, the color is not so good. Here. No, still not so good. Yeah. This is the value. Hold on. It is not coming out. Yeah. A bit delayed. Okay, so for this thermistor, it's given that at 25 degrees C, the resistance is 2252 ohms. Okay, so you look at the table. Sekejap How do I... how do I... Tak nak keluar pula. Okay, never mind. Let me try to enlarge this part. Okay, so you tengok dekat sini kolom temperature ni. So dia start daripada negative 80. And then dia turun negative 80, negative 79 and so on sampai negative 70. Lepas tu dia turun lagi every 1 degree C to negative 60. And so on and so on. Lepas tu sampai you dapat zero. Zero dekat sini. Okay, at 0 degree C, so you have the temperature resistance. For example, you tengok dekat sini dia ada kategori dia juga. Dia ada part number dia. Now let's refer to part number 44004 and 44033. That means the left hand side. So ini adalah value resistance dia yang you akan dapati pada setiap perubahan suhu. Okay. Dan pada let's say kita tengok pada 25 darjah Celsius, you akan tengok nilai dia sama. Kalau you scroll ke bawah ni, you tengok 2000 pada 25 darjah Celsius, nilai resistance dia adalah 2252 ohm. 2252 ohm, which is the same as the declared value here, 2252. So you see that when we start at 0, the value is 7355, and then the value goes down, becomes lower, 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 lower. So you need to understand, when you see this type of pattern in your table, that means this is an NTC type thermistor. Negative, because as the temperature increases, the resistance become lower. Okay, so you need to understand, from this table, you know already that the thermistor is of NTC type. Okay, kalau you dapat table yang sebaliknya, apabila suhu meningkat, you tengok resistance meningkat, automatically you kena faham dia adalah PTC, positive temperature coefficient. Okay, so yang lain adalah bacaan nilai lah. So ini kalau you diberi table, macam mana you nak baca daripada table. So kita boleh plotkan juga nilai-nilai di sini, we can plot it and obtain a graph. Okay, graph is sometimes more convenient for us to refer to, especially if the value is straightforward. Alright, so this is an example of a graph. The figure is not very clear, but the lines actually represent the value at different reference resistor values. So you can see tak begitu jelas, but we have here 1 kilo ohm, 2 kilo ohm, 3 kilo ohm, 5 kilo ohm, 10 kilo ohm. So these are the respective curves according to the resistance value. Okay, so bila graph macam ni, basically we want to find the corresponding value between the vertical and horizontal axis. Misalnya katakan kita nak tahu apakah dia nilai pada 60 darjah Celsius for a specific type of thermistor. So we just follow the vertical line up to the point where we want to find what is the value. For example, let's say we want to know what is the corresponding resistance at 60 degrees for 0.5 kilo ohm, which is the lowest curve here. So we simply draw an imaginary line to this point and find the corresponding value on the vertical axis. Okay, we can also do the other way around. Given the value of the resistance, we want to find what is the value of the temperature. Okay, dalam application sekarang dekat industri, everything is automated. Almost everything is automated. So usually you only need to check this, as far as I know, if you want to do calibration or you want to make sure that the thermistor is operating properly. Otherwise, all the values will be displayed on the screen and you just read it and you find out. Tapi dia penting, you kena faham benda ni, sebab kalau you kerja dalam bidang industri nanti, you kena tahu yang value tu logik ke tak logik. When you read the value from the display, you must develop a sense of intuition. Value ni logik tak? Is it normal or not? That one we can only gain through experience and through knowledge. Okay, kita tak nak nanti kita punya engineers, kita tak nak kamu baca je lepas tu terima je. Sensor baca macam tu, itulah dia value dia. Without any thinking, you know, like, okay, is this logical or not? Is this reasonable or not? Do we need to follow up with some more inspection? Something macam tu. Okay. Okay, so there are a number of construction types. Macam mana cara dia construct. Tu yang tadi ada bead, ada disc, ada cylinder. So these are examples of the construction type. You boleh baca ni nanti. nothing much here, mostly theory. Right? And then this part here, now this part is quite important. How to convert thermistor's resistor value to voltage or current signal. So again, thermistor is passive transducer. That means it requires an external source. So external source, usually we have some sort of power supply or battery connected to the thermistor. And it also have at least one resistor so that you can use it to form a voltage divider circuit. Okay, so thermistor dia punya operation principle dia akan melibatkan circuit yang paling simple, bentuk dia macam ni. So the output voltage RT here is R thermistor. So kita tahu daripada voltage divider, sebelum ni pun kita buat dalam topik yang sebelum ni, kita ada cover tentang voltage divider ni. If you want to find what is the voltage across the thermistor, we can do that by having a ratio of the thermistor resistance divide by the total resistance multiply by the source voltage. So we can find what is the output voltage. Okay, by definition, thermistor of course is a resistive device. So if you want to apply the thermistor principle, current must flow through the thermistor and there will be voltage drop. Right. So this is the general equation for voltage divider. So a circuit where a constant DC supply is applied across a series circuit consists of one known resistor and thermistor. So we must know the value of R1 here, right? And then, for example, we see the values given in this part, the bottom part here. So for example, if you use a 10 kilo ohm thermistor with a series resistor of 10 kilo ohms, that means the same resistance value. Then the output voltage at the base temperature of 25 degrees C will be half the supply voltage. So that means whatever the output voltage, because the resistance is similar. So let's say 10 kilo ohm, so 10 divided by total is 20, so we have half. Multiply with whatever the supply voltage is. Alright? And then for power dissipation, for power dissipation, we apply the equation given here, P equals to I squared R. Okay. To my students who are from manufacturing, you kena bezakan tau. Saya tengok dalam soalan 1 midterm ada juga yang masih confused. Iaitu persamaan ini. Dia ada beberapa persamaan untuk power. Right? So maybe one you have already seen is P equals to VI. Or we can also use P equals to V squared over R. Or you can also use P equals to I squared R. Now, all these three are basically derived from the same concept. But the application is a bit different. Bila kita nak kira power loss, usually we calculate, bukan usually, memang kita calculate using this part here. P equals to I squared R. This is the part where we want to measure, use to calculate losses. Okay, so you mesti akan tanya kenapa saya tak boleh guna yang lain. Kalau Sir kata P sama dengan VI, sama juga dengan I squared R, so kenapa saya tak boleh guna P sama dengan VI? Okay, nak jawab soalan tu sebenarnya kita kena tengok derivation dia. Tapi itu di luar skop. Saya tak nak cover terlalu detail tentang benda tu. Jadi saya terus summarizekan, kalau you nak measure losses, Then you need to use P equals to I squared R so that you can identify the magnitude of the power loss based on the magnitude of the current. Okay, kalau you berminat nak tahu lebih lanjut, then maybe we can set a separate. Tapi itu bukan scope topik kita ni. Dia sebenarnya dalam topik circuit analysis ataupun electrical, basic of electrical, principle of electrical and electronic. Itu lain lah. Okay. But this is the equation. Okay, ini kalau kita nak kira losses. Nanti ada, kita akan buat maybe tutorial besok kot. Kita nak cover tentang macam mana nak consider the losses here. Okay. So power dissipation. So when current flows through a thermistor, it generates heat, which raises the temperature of the thermistor above that of its environment. This is called self-heating or power loss. Ini common bila kita tengok elemen elektrik. So bila satu-satu elemen tu mengalirkan arus, dia akan jadi panas. So kadang-kadang kalau dia panas lebih daripada julat dia akan menyebabkan dia sendiri menghasilkan kehilangan dari segi kuasa. Itu kita panggil dia sebagai self-heating. Okay, power loss. Dari segi practical application, katakan you undersize kabel. You sepatutnya guna kabel dengan ketebalan tertentu. Tapi sebab katakan you nak jimat kos, so you guna kabel dengan ketebalan yang kurang daripada yang sepatutnya. Jadi ada setengah kes bila you pegang kabel tu, you akan tengok kabel, you akan rasa kabel tu panas. Dalam keadaan yang teruk, you boleh tengok kabel tu cair. Tu ada setengah kes berlaku dekat kawasan perumahan di mana kontraktor tu dia nak jimat kos. Jadi dia pasang kabel bawah daripada saiz yang sepatutnya. Saya dah pernah tengok dah kes tu. Jadi apa yang berlaku, penghuni rumah tu, okay, mula-mula bila dia masuk rumah, dia tak tahu apa-apa, okay, dia macam biasa. Tapi lepas tu bila makin lama dia duduk rumah tu, dia upgrade. Dia start pasang aircon. Jadi lepas tu dia start banyak pasang electrical appliances. Lepas tu bila ahli keluarga dia bertambah, dia guna untuk tempoh masa yang lama, berterusan. Jadi kabel tu overheating. Jadi long term dia akan menyebabkan kebakaran. Bila kabel tu cair, dan sebab kabel tu kita tak nampak, biasanya dia lay dekat bahagian atas bumbung kan. Kita tak nampak, so kadang-kadang berlaku kes kebakaran dan lambatlah untuk kita kesan benda tu. Alright. Okay, itu lari sedikit lah daripada topik. When we talk about self-heating, the increase in device temperature can be represented by this equation here. P equals to delta del T. Delta T. Ni del, ni delta. Del multiply with delta T. So del is the power dissipation factor due to current flow in thermistor. And delta T is the rise in thermistor temperature due to self-heating. So to reduce self-heating effect, the operating current of the thermistor must be kept as low as possible. So these are the methods available. We replace the thermistor with higher rated resistance, or we replace the voltage source with a constant current source. Okay, so kenapa yang ni replace thermistor with higher rated resistance? So kalau you replace value dia, R dia semakin besar, jadi you akan dapat dia punya output voltage dia dari segi nisbah dia, you akan dapat, kalau ini besar bahagi dengan nilai yang hampir dengan diri dia, so you akan dapat voltage source dia hampir sama dengan, voltage output dia hampir sama dengan voltage supply. Kita tengok contoh sekejap lagi. Dan satu lagi, we replace a voltage source with a constant current source sebab untuk power loss, P is equal to I squared times with RT. Jadi current ni, kalau current tu double daripada 2 ke 4 misalnya, 2M ke 4M, dia punya power loss tu jadi, so 2 kuasa 2 dapat 4, 4 kuasa 2 dapat 16. Power loss dia akan jadi 4 kali ganda. Kalau current meningkat 2 kali ganda, okay, Okay, so let me show you what I mean. So if I equals to 2, then here it becomes 2 squared. So becomes 4. If I is equal to 4, then here is going to be 4 squared. So 16. So we have 16 divide by 4 equals to 4. So that means as the current doubles 2 times, the power 4 times the losses. So that is why one of the application is we apply a constant current source. Kita fixkan current dia, I tu pada certain value, so that the power loss is also constant. Only depend on the temperature of the thermistor, the resistance of the thermistor. Okay. So these are the advantage and disadvantages of thermistor compared to RTD. So advantage, less expensive and cost efficient. Dia lagi murah lah daripada RTD. Okay. If it has no if it requires no calibration for the curve, then you can purchase the thermistor, use it directly. Tapi kena tahu macam mana cara nak pasang lah. And then compact and smaller size. So it allows to be installed at smaller space. Ini advantage dia, compact. One of the main advantage compared to RTD. Dia boleh digunakan di kawasan yang sempit ataupun kawasan yang kecil. And then fast response time. Faster than RTD lah. So, dia lagi cepat. Bila berlaku perubahan suhu, dia boleh measure. And then higher resolution and better accuracy. Okay, within the range they are rated to measure than RTD. That means kalau kita tengok range dia kurang lah berbanding dengan platinum RTD tu, tapi dia punya resolution dia, maknanya dia boleh baca skala yang kecil, dia lagi sensitif. Okay, disadvantage dia limited temperature, maximum is 350 degree C, non-linear relationship sebab dia curve tadi, dia berbentuk lengkung. And then heat generation due to current flow passing through them can cause inaccurate reading. Ini tadi self-heating yang kita kena go into detail kalau kita nak faham. Okay, let's look at the example. Okay, after this example, we will take a break before we cover our last topic. Okay, let's look at the example. So NTC thermistor. So remember, negative thermistor, that means as the temperature increase, the resistance drops. Okay, the thermistor has a rating of 10 kilo ohms at 25 degrees C. Okay, this is the base or the reference temperature. When the temperature changes to 100 degrees C, the resistance drops to 374 ohms. So the voltage output therefore changes when the temperature changes and is given by the standard voltage divider formula shown. So kalau R2, in this case R2 is the thermistor, R2 is the reference resistor. Okay, then the output voltage from the voltage divider will be 0.91. So how we get 0.91? So we have, let me try to write it down. So if R2 is 1 kilo ohm, so we have V out equals to 1 kilo ohm. Okay, yang ni R2 dia letak kat bawah, beza sedikit daripada yang atas tu. Divide by the total is 10 kilo ohm plus 1 kilo ohm, so we have 11 kilo ohms. And then the source voltage is given as 10 volt, so multiply by 10 volt. So kilo ohm and kilo ohm cancel, we have 1 over 11 times 10, so we get 0.91 or 0.9090909. So we just take it as 0.91 volts. Remember that this is at 25 degrees C. Okay, so this is at 25 degrees C. Now, if we look at 100 degrees C, so V out is equal to R2 is still the same, 1 kilo ohm. But now the resistance of the thermistor is 674. Dia drop daripada 10 kilo ohm pada 674. So the total resistance must be R2 is the same, 1 kilo ohm. So we have 1.674 kilo ohm. Multiply by still 10 volts. So we have 1 divided by 1.674 multiply by 10, we get 5.97 volts. 5.97 volts. So in this example, it is taken as 6 volts. Okay, so you can see here the voltage difference when it is operating at the reference temperature 25 degrees C and when it's operating at 100 degrees C. So basically we can convert the voltages into the corresponding resistance value, or the other way around. We have the resistance value, we convert into the corresponding voltage value. Okay, so this is what is meant by applying the voltage divider rule for a thermistor. Okay, so this is a similar example, except now the thermistor is at the bottom. We measure from the thermistor side. So the same principle applies. Okay, R1 equals to 1000 ohms and the supply is 10 volts. So what happens if we use the same type of thermistor? Now at 25 degrees C, we have the voltage or the resistance here is 10 kilo ohms. Divide by the total resistance. The total resistance is 11 kilo ohms. So this one cancel. Multiply by 10 volts. So we get 9.1 volts. Okay, these two examples just want to illustrate to you the difference if we put the thermistor on top or the thermistor at the bottom. So these are the criteria, the differences in the voltages. Alright. So we always measure the voltage with respect to ground. Ground mesti jadi kita punya rujukan. So jangan tersilap pula kalau thermistor duduk bawah, you measure lah voltage across thermistor. Kalau resistor reference yang dekat bawah, you measure across the resistor. Okay, yang the simple thing yang you kena berhati-hati bila you buat calculation. Okay. Let's see example here. So an example here, lupa saya nak bagi tahu. So the symbol of a thermistor usually is drawn like a resistor, but with a slash here. You nampak ada tanda slash tak dekat bawah tu? Itu adalah ni. Macam ni. Macam ni dia thermistor. Okay, dia ada tanda slash tu. And then ada symbol T. Okay, that indicates a thermistor. Okay, so similar here for the next example. So we have the thermistor that it has a slash across the resistive element, indicating that it is a temperature sensing element. So tujuan dua-dua graf ni ditunjukkan adalah you tengok apabila suhu dia 25 darjah Celsius, okay, the reference temperature, so the voltage here is going to be 2.50 volts, 2.5 volts. Assuming that the resistance is the same. Supply is 5 volts, so it's going to be half. Right? Now, if the resistance increases, as the temperature decrease, ni kita ada 25. Now, as the temperature decrease below maybe about 10 here, the resistance increase. When the resistance increase, we want to measure the voltage. Now it becomes 20.38 kilo divide by the total here. So you get 3.35. So let me double check. Yep. So if you want to find out the V out, here V out is going to be this resistance here, 20.38, divide by the total resistance, 30.38. So kilo ohms. So we cancel, multiply by the supply voltage, which is 5 volts. So you get 3.354 volts. So the circuit remains the same, but as the temperature changes, the resistance value here also changes accordingly, and we can find the corresponding voltage. Okay, this is another example. Okay, let's read through this example. The circuit here is used to measure temperature by the thermistor. The thermistor's base value is 4 kilo ohms. The curve, the resistance and temperature curve of several thermistors are given. Okay, so we have 1 kilo ohm, 2 kilo ohm, sorry, 500 ohm, 1 kilo ohm, 2 kilo ohm, and so on. Given ammeter is 50 amp at full scale. R1 is fixed at 17 ohms and the supply voltage is 15 volts. What will be the reading of the meter at 25 degrees C? Okay, here you need to be careful because the question is in degrees Celsius, but the table is in Fahrenheit. Okay, so the table is in Fahrenheit. So in the question, is already given 25 degrees C is equal to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. If it's not given, then you need to convert accordingly. Okay, using the conversion process from degrees C to degrees Fahrenheit. All right, so what will be the reading of the meter at 25 degrees C? And then what is the reading of the meter at 150 degrees Fahrenheit? So at 25 degrees C, we know that the resistance is 4 kilo ohms. So we need to refer to the 4 kilo ohm curve. Okay, and it's given that, okay, RT here is the thermistor resistance, 4 kilo ohm at 25 degrees C. The meter resistance is 3 ohms internal, and R1 is fixed at 17. So we apply the principle of a voltage divider. In this case, we want to find the current. Is it? If you want to calculate the current, then we need to divide using this equation. So we have 15 divided by the total resistance. I equals to V divided by R total. So R total is this. So the voltage is 15 volts. Divide by R total, so we get 15.5. Is that correct? Let me check. No, it's not correct. It's 3.73. I think dia tersalah ni, tertukar. Nanti kita check balik Sekejap lagi kita check. I think it's this value here and this value here. So please correct your lecture note accordingly. Kita buat yang bawah. So 15 bahagi 970. Yeah. Terbalik. The answer is swapped. Okay, but never mind. Please do the necessary correction. So we know that at 25 degrees C, the thermistor resistance is 4 kilo ohm. So kita gantikan 4 kilo ohm masuk dalam samaan, kita dapat dia punya I total dia is 3.73 milliamps. At 150 degrees Fahrenheit, so kita tengok dekat sini 150. Lepas tu kita refer pada curve 4K. kita tengok value dekat sini, sini tak berapa jelas tapi kita estimate lah about 950. So gantikan dalam persamaan, so kita dapat 15.5, 15.46. Okay, so maybe I need to do the correction. This one should be 3.73 milliamps, and this one is 15, my calculation is 0.46 milliamps. Okay. And then, okay, practice problem nanti you buat. Saya dah go beyond our time here. Dan industrial application of thermistor nanti you boleh baca what are the examples. Okay, so now is 12:15. So kita ambil short break lah. Saya rasa mungkin tak sempat pun nak cover. So kita mungkin akan cover sedikit bahagian thermocouple ni dan kita sambung besok untuk habiskan. Okay, so now let's take a short break. 12:14. Kita sambung balik 12:20. Okay, so 12:21, let us continue. I want to cover now the topic of thermocouple, which is the last type of temperature transducer that we are going to cover in this topic, in this course. Okay, thermocouple. Bila kata couple, mesti ada dua. Mesti ada pair. Okay, so thermocouples are basically a pair of different metals used to measure temperature. Okay, thermocouples by definition are voltage generating sensor in which an electromagnetic force produced is proportional to temperature. So a simple example is the original thermocouple found by a scientist named Thomas Seebeck. When we have two metals, we put them together, it's going to generate a voltage because of the difference in the temperature. And we can find what is the corresponding temperature if we know the conversion between the voltage and the temperature difference. Okay, apabila kita ada dua bahan, kita check antara dua bahan tu bila kita measure, dia akan ada beza upaya, voltage. So that voltage will change if the temperature of the two materials change, and we use that relationship to measure the temperature. Okay, ini boleh bacalah the definition found by the Thomas Seebeck, known as the Seebeck effect. Okay, this is the mathematical representation. If you want to calculate, so we have the EMF or the voltage is equal to the constant either in volt or in Kelvin multiplied by the temperature difference at the junction. Okay, apa yang dimaksudkan dengan junction? Okay, so you see here, this is example. Apabila you panaskan dua material yang mempunyai sifat yang berbeza, you panaskan pada point yang sama. Tak semestinya panaskanlah, boleh jadi juga you nak find the temperature, cold temperature also can. So because each material behave differently, the nature of the material behave differently, if you know the relationship between the material change, you can measure the voltage across these 2 points and find out what is the corresponding temperature. Okay, itu yang dia dinyatakan dekat sini, kita boleh baca the voltage difference of the two dissimilar metals can be measured and related to the corresponding temperature gradient. Okay. Okay, so the V is equal to actually alpha delta T. Dekat sini dia guna S, but S, alpha, it means the same thing. Kita nak tengok dia punya perkali itu darabkan dengan perbezaan suhu dia. Itu maksud dia. Dan ini sebab kita panggil dia sebagai couple. Okay. Kita ada dua material yang berbeza, kita panaskan pada point yang sama, dia masing-masing akan menunjukkan ciri pemanasan yang berbeza. Perbezaan itu akan menyebabkan ada voltage difference antara dua point ini, dan kita boleh measure voltage difference tu. Okay. So to measure temperature using a thermocouple, you can't just connect the thermocouple to a measurement system like a voltmeter. You need to know the junction temperature. Ni kita kena faham konsep junction tu. Okay. So kita ada dua jenis junction, hot junction dengan cold junction, ataupun hot junction dengan reference junction. So hot junction adalah titik ataupun kedudukan di mana kita measure temperature tu. So kalau kita tengok gambar rajah ni, we see this figure, we can automatically identify hot junction is actually the junction where the two metals are combined and the point where we want to measure the temperature. Okay, we define this as the hot junction. And then the reference junction is the point from the metal to the connected measurement system. Titik yang warna kuning ni, keemasan ni, this is we call as the reference junction. Okay, so kalau you baca buku, kadang-kadang dia tak pakai reference junction, dia pakai cold junction, nak bezakan. Tetapi kalau kita pakai cold junction, dia boleh menimbulkan confusion. Sebab kadang-kadang kita bukan measure suhu yang tinggi, kita measure suhu yang rendah dekat sini. Katakan kita measure negatif di sini. So mungkin ada orang akan confuse, dia akan ambil hot junction dekat reference. So basically the definition, hot junction kita define as the junction where we want to measure, the cold junction where we connect it to the meter or to the measurement system. Yang ni kena hati-hatilah dia punya terms. Okay, so thermocouple dia sentiasa measure voltage difference between 2 points. Sentiasa antara dua titik. Okay, so to know the absolute temperature at the hot junction, one must know the temperature at the reference junction. Mesti tahu at the reference junction. So for example here, the reference junction direndam dalam satu ice bath. So dekat reference junction ni, bila dia rendam dekat satu larutan ais, so suhu dekat sini sentiasa 0 darjah Celsius. So this is for both types, we call it as the reference junction. And then we measure lah, we measure the voltage at the unknown temperature at the point we want to measure with reference to the junction where we put it in ice bath. And to measure, we find the voltage difference between at the hot junction and the reference junction. So it's given as the equation here. Right, so measured voltage is equal to the voltage at the hot junction minus the voltage at the reference junction, and we can play around with the equation to develop this relationship as well. Okay, so thermocouple give the voltage that results for a particular type of thermocouple when the reference junctions are at 0 degrees Celsius. Each type has their own range, linearity, and sensitivity. Okay, so for example, the J thermocouple at 0 degrees reference, you have, ini dia extract daripada table, so kita akan tengok table dia sekejap lagi. V at 210 degree C equals to 11.34 millivolts. Okay, so mari kita tengok. Okay, this is an example of a table type J. Okay, sebelum tu saya nak minta you betulkan lecture note ni ada kesilapan. Thermocouple kita sentiasa measure dalam millivolt, bukan milliamp. Jadi saya minta you betulkan. Kita ambil besar sikit dekat sini. Maybe saya ambil color hitam kot. Okay, cancel di sini. The unit must be millivolt. Okay, so this is voltage. Alright. So nanti kat bawah-bawah ni pun sama. Okay, so this must be voltage. Voltage in millivolt, and this one is also millivolt, semua millivolt. Okay, sebab dia berkait dengan voltage, dia bukan berkait dengan current. Okay, so mari kita baca. Macam mana cara nak baca table ni? So tadi contoh dia bagi 210. So kita refer dekat sini, the left hand column is the increment in 50. So we have 50, 100, 150, 200 and so on. Yang bahagian atas ni adalah dia punya higher resolution. Okay. Jadi kita kena tambah value yang atas ni kepada nilai sini untuk dapat the temperature. Jadi, sorry, not the temperature, the temperature, betul lah, the temperature. So, this one is the temperature, value yang dekat tengah ni adalah millivolt. So, kalau kita tengok, katakan kita ambil, saya kurangkan sedikit. At 210, so kita tengok kat sini lah. First, we look at 200. Then, we look at 10. So, semua ni unit dia adalah millivolt. Value yang kita dapat ni. So, 210 degrees Celsius, kita dapat the value is 11.34. So, kat situlah yang kita dapat kat sini 11.34 millivolts. Okay, so let's see for 275. So 275, kita tengok dekat, tukar sikit color, so kita ambil. So 275 is between 250 and 300. So kita tengok pada 250. So kita kena tambah 25. So kita kena tengok 250 tambah 25, 275. So by right, the value should be 14.94 millivolts. Kat sini dia bagi 17.15. Kenapa dia bagi 17.15? 17.15 value dekat mana? No, this is not. Kalau dia kata 275, that means the value should be 14.94 millivolts. So 250 tambah 25, 14.94. Betul tak saya baca table ni? Betul saya rasa. 17.15 is at 315. Okay, so maybe tersilap kot masa dia ganti ni, mungkin dia tak tukar value kat sini ataupun dia tak tukar value kat sini. So thank you Norman. So by right this value should be 14.94 millivolts. Okay, so let's look at the third example, 288 degrees. So 288. So 288. So we have 250. So 288 tak ada. So kita ada di sini. Okay, mari kita tukar color balik. Let's say we take what? This one. So 250 adalah kat sini. So 250 plus 35, we have 285. At 285, value yang kita ada adalah 15.5 millivolt. This value here. Okay, so 15.5 millivolt. Kemudian 250 tambah 40, so kita ada 290. At 290 degree C, we have 15.77. 15.77 millivolt. So how do we calculate at 288? At 288. Jadi di sini kita pakai apa yang dia panggil sebagai interpolation. Okay, ada dalam slide yang berikutnya, which is this one. We use interpolation equation. Okay, so interpolation equation ni you kena practice, especially kalau you nak dapatkan value yang bukan ada pada titik tu. Tapi sekurang-kurangnya kita tahu 288 value dia mesti antara 15.5 to 15.77. Okay, so macam mana cara kita nak kira? we utilize this relationship. Kita ambil 288 degrees C minus 285 degrees C. Okay, I think I need to use a larger area. So saya nak pakai yang kat belah sini. So at 288 degrees C, so we have 288 minus 285 divide by 290 minus 285. Okay. So ini ratio yang pertama, ini ratio untuk temperature. So kita nak kira what is the voltage. Voltage minus at 285 value dia adalah 15.5 millivolt. So 15.5 millivolt. Divide by pada 290 nilai dia 15.77. So you ada 15.77 minus 285, you get minus 15.5 as well. 15.5 millivolt. Okay, so 288 minus 285, so you ada 8 tolak 5, 3. Ni 90 tolak 85, 5. So you ada 3 over 5. 3 over 5 equals to V minus 15.5 millivolts divide by 15.77 minus 15.5, you have 0.27 millivolt. 0.27 millivolt. Okay, so you transfer lah value dia. So the voltage is equal to 3 over 5 ni sama dengan 0.6. So 0.6. 0.27 millivolt ni bawa naik atas. So multiply by 0.27 millivolt. And then you tambah dengan 15.5 millivolt. Tambah 15.5 millivolt. So you dapat berapa? So 0.6 darab 0.27. So saya dapat 0.162. millivolt plus 15.5 millivolt. Tak berapa ni Sekejap saya betulkan. 0.1162 plus 15.5, so saya ada 15.662. 15.662 millivolt. Inilah maksud interpolation ni tadi. Okay, so kita double check balik, voltage kita dapat 15.662. So kalau kita tengok pada 285 15.5, pada 290 15.77, kita dapat dalam julat tu. So that means this answer is correct lah, because it does not exceed 15.77 or below 15.5. So this is the range. So kita tengok balik jawapan dekat atas pun salah. So I think the correct one is 15.662. 2 millivolt. Saya tak pasti kenapa dia salah. Mungkin lecturer sebelum ni dia guna table lain ke, ataupun table lain pun value dia patutnya sama. Okay, but it's okay. Kita betulkan. Ini adalah cara yang betul untuk kita kira. Okay. So let's say you kena kira nilai negatif. Let's say what is the, for example, what is the corresponding millivolt at let's say negative 75 degree C. So macam mana you nak tengok kalau negatif? So negative 75, you kena tengok sekarang ni dia negative 100, you kena tambah lah. Untuk negatif, dia akan berkurang pula. Misalnya negative 150, okay, di sini negative 150, di sini adalah negative 150 plus 5. So negative 145. Dan seterusnya. So you ada negative 145, dia akan berkurang. Berkurang sampai dekat sini adalah negative 105. Lepas tu negative 100. Okay. So sekarang ni bila kita nak tengok negative 75, kita refer pada yang ini. Negative 100 plus 25. So negative 100 plus 25, you get 75 lah. Negative 75 lah. So value dia negative 100 plus 25, you get negative 5.61. So at negative 75 degree C, it's equivalent to negative 5.61 millivolt. Ya Aisyah, interpolation. Interpolation. Yang saya buat equation ni sebenarnya sama dengan equation yang dekat bawah ni. Interpolation. Tapi saya tak hafal rumus ni. Saya tahu macam mana cara nak buat daripada sini terus. Saya terus tunjuk cara yang saya pakai lah. Bendanya sama. Cuma cara yang saya ingat lebih senang untuk cara saya berfikir. Saya terus apply macam ni saja. Okey. Itu kalau untuk negatif. Okay, sebelum saya stop, saya rasa saya nak stop dekat sini. Okay, ni example lah. Example you boleh buat nanti. Okay, saya explain sedikit. Ini adalah case di mana reference temperature dia bukan kosong. Reference temperature dia adalah 30. Okay, dalam kebanyakan case, dari segi practical application, susah kita nak maintain kita punya reference temperature pada kosong. Kalau you tengok gambar rajah yang saya share tadi, untuk kita maintain temperature kita dekat kosong, kita kena rendam kita punya reference junction tu dalam larutan ais. Tapi dekat kilang tak berapa praktikal benda ni. Kalau you nak maintain ais tu, lepas tu you nak kena monitor pula dia punya tahap kecairan from time to time, susah nak maintain pada kosong. Jadi lebih mudah kalau kita maintain pada misalnya suhu bilik ataupun suhu alam sekitar. Ambient temperature. So ambient temperature kita kalau kat Malaysia ni kita anggap lebih kurang 30 lah. Mungkin 28, 25 tengok pada keadaan kan. Tapi secara amnya kita boleh kata suhu dia 30 darjah Celsius. Jadi kita maintain je pada suhu bilik, pada suhu ambient. Lepas tu kita kena buat some correction factor lah. Okay, apa yang dimaksudkan dengan correction factor tu? You tengok table ni. So soalan ni dia kata J thermocouple at 150 degree C with a reference temperature at of 30 degree C. Maknanya sekarang ni reference temperature dia maintain pada suhu ambient. So kita tengok pada 150 degree C, so 150 value dia adalah 8 millivolt. Okay. 150 value dia adalah 8 millivolt. Kemudian reference temperature dia adalah 30 degree. So pada 30 degree, so kita ambil positif kosong 30 degree. Ini kita dapat 1.54 volt. So untuk kita dapatkan the output voltage, kita tolaklah nilai antara ini dengan ini. Itulah yang dimaksudkan dengan solution dekat bawah ni. So kita tolak pada 150 dengan pada 30, kita dapat the actual voltage is 6.46 millivolt. Okay. Ini kita akan pakai apabila kita punya reference temperature bukan kosong. Okay. Kalau ada soalan boleh tanya. Topik ni penting sebab dia melibatkan table. Okey, dah 12.46. So saya nak akhiri saya punya lecture hari ni dengan share pada kamu table yang akan keluar dalam final. Okay, table yang akan keluar dalam final. Bila kata table akan keluar dalam final ni, tahu dah memang confirm lah ada keluar soalan macam ni kan. Tak payah cakap lah tu kan. Alright. Okey, ini adalah contoh. Dia ada banyak thermocouple table. Tapi ini thermocouple table. Bila baru nak guna? Okey, Cai. Hold on kita tengok yang table ni dulu. Okey, so table ni dia describe untuk jenis thermocouple yang berbeza. Dalam industri, dia ada beberapa jenis thermocouple gabungan metal yang digunakan. Dan setiap satunya tu ada dia punya temperature range, ada dia punya linear characteristics yang kita akan cover dalam kuliah kita besok. Okay, tapi kita boleh classify dia kepada secara amnya kepada 6 jenis. Memang 6 lah. Ada lagi a few types yang rare tapi these are the most common. So type E, type J, type K, type N, type S, type T. Dan definition untuk combination dia adalah seperti yang diberi dalam bahagian atas ni. So type E adalah antara metal jenis chromal dengan constantan. Type J adalah iron dan constantan. And so on. So ini adalah dia punya temperature. Temperature ni adalah gandaan 10. You boleh tengok kat sini. Dia lain sikit daripada table dalam lecture note tu. Dan ini adalah dia punya corresponding value dalam millivolt. So all this part unit is millivolt. So you ada temperature range negatif 270 sampai, kita tak guna semualah tapi dia ada semualah. Up to the maximum range. So kalau you tengok dekat sini, up to certain temperature macam ni, about 1000, type E dah tak ada. That means that type E cannot be used for temperature more than 1000 degree C. Dia habis setakat 1000 je. Untuk type J dia sampai 1200 saja. Dan and so on lah. So you tengok yang paling tinggi dia punya range dia adalah type S. Dia boleh sampai 1760 degree C. So kita kena tengok application kita. Kalau kita suhu yang sangat tinggi, then we need to use the appropriate type of thermocouple. Kita akan cover ni dalam lecture besok. Chai tanya soalan dia. Kita patah balik tadi. Bila nak guna negatif kosong dengan positif kosong? Apa beza dia antara negatif kosong dengan positif kosong? Kalau you tengok dekat sini, value dia seakan-akan sama kan? Cuma ada sedikit offset, especially dekat value yang lebih besar ni. So antara pada kosong, bacaan dia kosong, and then you tengok kat sini 0.25, lepas tu bila semakin meningkat, you akan dapati dia punya nilai dia ada lari sikit lah. Dia ada start to deviate. This is the difference is because there is some slight difference when you have a value of approaching zero from the negative side and going into the positive side. There is some small differences. In most cases kita akan pakai positive zero. I'm not quite sure bila kita pakai negative zero. I need to get back to you on that. Setakat ni kalau yang saya guna memang kebanyakannya kita pakai terus positive zero. Negative zero ni I don't know where the application. So I need to ask someone more yang ada more experience than me with regards to this part. This is a good question actually. Bila nak guna negatif kosong? So I'll try to get back on you by tomorrow. Saya try consult my other colleagues. For me, yang biasa saya guna terus positif zero. So I can't give you the answer straightforward now. Okay, kalau saya lupa bagi remind saya besok Tapi saya rasa saya ingat kot. This is a good question. Okay, so 12:50. We have already been together for 2 hours and so dalam kuliah kita besok, kita nak tengok beza antara setiap jenis thermocouple ni. Kita akan habiskan session ni, untuk lecture ni tak banyak dah, few slide saja. Dan saya nak jawablah nanti beberapa soalan yang saya tak sempat. Zakirin tanya, satu question sahaja ke guna table? Kalau soalan tu berkaitan thermocouple, guna thermocouple table lah. Kalau berkaitan thermistor, kan ada tadi thermistor punya table. Kalau RTD, RTD dia straightforward. RTD equation tu saja. Jadi nak jawab soalan tu tak semestinya lah. Kalau soalan lain ada table reference, kena pakai table reference lah. Macam capacitive kan, saya bincang last week, capacitive sensor, capacitive transducer, dia bergantung pada material, permittivity material, itu pun ada table juga. So kalau soalan yang itu keluar, you kena tahu baca lah. Okay, kalau material ni apa permittivity dia, macam mana nak masukkan dalam persamaan epsilon R tu. Maksud saya yang ni, kebetulan dah buka, ni. Ni contoh kan. Ni untuk capacitive transducer. Let's see. Mana contoh yang sesuai. Macam ni dia pakai. Sekejap. Saya punya display lagging. Okay, sekejap. Pasal ni. Okay. Ni example daripada capacity transducer. So, dalam soalan ni dia bagi the plates are separated by air, udara. So, air, epsilon R dia adalah sama dengan 1. So, kita boleh ganti teruslah. Dekat sini, epsilon R dia sama dengan 1 terus. Tapi kalau dia bukan air, dia bagi material tertentu. Misalnya dalam soalan praktis ni, okay, dia bagi dielectric constant dia 4. Maknanya bahan ni dia punya epsilon R dia sama dengan 4. So kena masukkan epsilon R sama dengan 4 lah. Kalau dia tak bagi value kat sini, dia bagi material ni. So dia bagi material ni, kena refer pada table kan, kena pakai table lah. Alright. Ada lagi soalan? Okay Zakirin, no problem. Okay, so kita stop sampai sini. Besok kita sambung tentang perbezaan antara, we'll see the differences and then we'll wrap up with some example questions and tutorials. Okay, I also shared with you, I will still share some more materials. Kalau you pergi pada ini dekat sini dah ada tutorial on sensor, thermocouple example questions, and then the appendix I showed you just now. I will add one more material on strain gauge and capacitive transducer examples after this, and then we'll select some of the questions to discuss tomorrow and maybe next week. Next week tu, sekarang ni this week saya intend to finish all the lecture materials lah, insyaAllah. So next week we are just going to focus on some questions. Lepas tu ada banyak soalan yang anda tanya personally dalam WhatsApp yang saya tak respon lagi sampai sekarang. Itu pun mungkin saya akan select a few questions yang saya rasa sesuai, kita akan bincang next week. And then information regarding final lah. Okay. Apa lagi? That's it lah. Untuk kamu punya carry mark, saya dah update sampai assignment, baru sampai assignment. So ada 25 mark, nanti sekejap lagi saya share juga. Quiz belum update lagi dalam carry mark tu. Dan dan satu lagi, kita ada satu lagi assignment lah yang kamu kena buat, dan saya akan share berkenaan dengan assignment tu tentang tajuk thermocouple ni, temperature sensor ni besok bila kita dah habis kita punya discussion. Okay, that's it. So thank you for your time. We see tomorrow. Tomorrow expected 1 hour lah, 11 to 12. And stay safe. Okay, thank you for being patient for the 2 hours, and hope to see you guys soon. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, welcome. Okay, thank you guys. Ada soalan boleh tanya Kalau saya tak respon tu saya minta maaf lah. Kita kena set satu masa, kita solvekan sama-sama. Okay, see you guys.
Thank you, Doctor.
Alright.
Thank you, Doctor.
Alright.
Doktor,
Ya.
nak tanya soalan.
Ya, siapa ni?
Aisyah,
Aisyah. Okay, Aisyah. Silakan.
boleh jadi ke topik yang kita belajar ni dia akan keluar dalam bentuk AC bridge atau DC bridge tapi di insert add on maklumat macam temperature bagai semua?
Boleh. Nanti kita discuss a few example. Contohnya macam strain gauge yang kita cover hari tu. Dalam strain gauge tu dia melibatkan penggunaan sama ada quarter bridge, half bridge ataupun full bridge. So itu nanti kita kena dedicate some time to discuss.
Sebab chapter ni time susah juga kalau dia masukkan in term ada subjek ada topik yang dulu. Thank you, Doktor.
Okay, tak begitu susah tapi Aisyah keep reminding me like you usually do. Teruskan. Dan jangan kecil hati kalau saya tak respon. Saya baca tu, cuma kita respon saya tu slow sikit dan saya akan cubalah nanti.
Tak apa. Thank you, Doktor.
Okay, Aisyah. Thank you.